And TK, good morning. A very clever article, very higher grade. So I'm trying to understand this, and I'm hoping that you're going to clarify it for us. So if I were to think about what most of the discussion has been about over the past week or so, TK, it's been about the poor. It's been about those in informal settlements, as you rightfully say. And those who were in very dire straits, very dire conditions for decades, and whose plight has been highlighted during this COVID-19 lockdown, and looking at ways how we can help them, not just now, but ways that we can sustain. Am I right?
Yeah, that's just basically it. It's trying to say, let's look at the silver lining. And I know it's very hard when people are losing their lives at the whole issue of COVID, because I think it's helping us, especially as people concerned with policy as to what are the structural weaknesses within our economy. Hence, I just call it a black swan event. And the positive we can get out of this is, like you're saying, we haven't addressed the issue of spatial planning. If you look at the issue of transport, as I say in the article, we don't have a public transport system. We have taxis, which are a private enterprise, trying to plug in the gap. And if we were to move forward, I think one of the things we're seeing is that we need a proper public transport system.
Okay, so that would be one area of it. And like we say, we're looking at what happens when it comes to informal development planning, spatial planning as well. What are we learning? What are you seeing happening in terms of what you say, yes, being the black swan event and the silver lining to that? Are we seeing silver linings yet?
Well, I'd say in terms of government performance, if you look at the issue of just your utilities, by this I refer to water and water shortages, we've seen government being able to quickly respond when the need arises. If you think about what happened in Durban and the issue of trying to ensure that, people that are destitute, your homeless people, actually have some form of shelter, government has been quite quick to respond to that, which then raises the question, if this is able to happen in an emergency, why can we have more plans in place to ensure that, listen, people that are homeless, why can we not have the proper policies and institutions in place to make sure that when we don't have an emergency, this happens?
Well, and I suppose, yes, that is the question also, not why can't we go forward, but why have we not done this in the past? Is it a time to hold, as much as, yes, we are praising government and looking at how they are acting so quickly and acting in this emergency and showing us their true mettle, the question to ask is, why have we not seen something like this over the past 25 years?
And I think that's why I think one of the sponsors of this article, the National Institute of Humanities and Social Science, that's the point they were raising. But they actually went a step further to say it's incumbent upon us as citizens, and as those people in the media to say, listen, well, now that we know you can perform better, how do we hold you accountable in terms of the policies? We actually need a whole deep dive into government policies, because in terms of development planning, we need to actually say, well, let's actually, like you're saying, let it become part of our normal language that when government comes out with any policy, that we're able to debate them, to say, but listen, this doesn't make sense to me as an average citizen. I might not understand the big English you guys are saying, but I do see the fact that things are not working. So this is an issue. I think it's a whole issue. That's what in the article I tried to say. Yes, government is responsible for public policy, but we as citizens also need to come to the fore and challenge government more about each and every policy they put down.
And what we're seeing happening now, like you say, moving people into temporary shelters, also trying to, like we know, social distancing has definitely been impossible for most people who live in informal settlements, who live in townships as well. It's something that just can't happen there. And we're trying to make a plan, getting water to people and food as well. Are we acting in ways that are sustainable? Let's not look back now. Let's look forward and talk about what we're doing and what we're doing and how we're doing it. Are those methods that are sustainable?
I think they're sustainable in the sense that if you look at what the President said earlier this week about the money that's going to be put into local government and also giving people grants, it's one of those things of where government has put itself forward, and I don't think citizens are going to be able to say, listen, we want to go back to how things were. So the sustainability aspect is going to come from us as citizens. And now, I like the question asked in terms of finances, is sustainable? And look, what this coronavirus should not maybe get us away from is that our economy has been dismal for the last 10 years. So Corona did not create our economy to become problematic. We already went into a technical recession. So the issues of sustainability are going to come more to the fore in this sense that when government is spending money, is it spending money on the right things? And I think that's where sustainability is going to come in, where government is going to have to be more circumspect about how they spend their finances. And I think citizens are going to be more aware of this, to say, listen, we know what our basic needs are, but government, you're not really helping us if you're spending money in X and Y unsustainable way.
All right. Well, just to round off for us, TK, you say that, yes, and like we know, coronavirus and this entire pandemic is going to change us permanently in ways that we never imagined before. Life is not going to go back to the way it absolutely was more than 5 weeks ago. So you say here in your article that there are more black swans in an ever-changing world. More black swans are coming, and we should ensure our system from rural, township and city South Africa is better prepared than now. How do we do that?
Well, one of the things we can look at is we can look at places like Taiwan and Singapore. If we look at our healthcare system, one thing that's come to the fore is that we actually have good healthcare practitioners, not necessarily a good system. So the issue is, can we now improve upon our system? And also, can we now, as I said, one of the things which we're also looking at to say, if the next black swan event comes, we know it's going to be either financial or health-wise. Are we as a country able now to really stockpile money? By that I mean, we used to have a surplus going into 2008. We don't have that surplus and that buffer anymore. So going forward, government has to work towards ensuring that we don't have to go borrow money from the IMF, which I've got no problems with. But the issue is to say you borrow because you've not done your due diligence and you've not really invested in the right thing. So that's what I mean by you can't really say when the next black swan is going to come. But what you can do is to say, have I got the right financial resources in place? Have I got the right infrastructure in place? And I've got the right people in place? And on these three accounts, we know government has been dearly lacking. And it's good to see that they are somewhat starting to realize that and move forward in that regard.
We are certainly paying for major mistakes in the past in how, what's available for us to deal with this pandemic. But of course, like you say, we will have to look and rethink a lot of policies, a lot of how we do things when things start to quieten down a little bit in terms of this pandemic, and look at everyday life and how we change that.